The business of professional sports is not a sisterhood. It is a ruthless, blood-soaked, unforgiving arena of hypercapitalism. In this arena, you are defined by one absolute, undeniable metric: your market value. You are either the engine that drives the revenue, or you are a passenger riding in the back seat, completely dependent on that engine to reach your destination. For the last quarter-century, the Women's National Basketball Association has been a league of passengers. It operated as a corporate entity that bled hundreds of millions of dollars, surviving largely through the financial support of the NBA. Yet, a militant faction of veteran players developed an astonishing, almost pathological, sense of entitlement. They convinced themselves that they were global icons. Then, the actual engine arrived. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court, shattered viewership records, and injected billions of dollars worth of attention into the sport, the passengers did not respond with gratitude. Instead, they attempted to take control of the vehicle. What we are witnessing right now is not merely a labor negotiation, it is a corporate suicide mission. The WNBA Players Association is threatening to disrupt the upcoming 2026 season. They are pointing a loaded gun at the billionaire ownership class, demanding guaranteed maximum contracts, free housing, and a 50% share of the league's gross revenue. The veteran establishment is desperately trying to convince the world that the millions of new fans who suddenly care about women's basketball are loyal to the union. They believe that the threat of a strike gives them ultimate leverage over the owners. However, that entire strategy has just been humiliated, exposed, and dismantled by the very player they have spent the last year trying to suppress. Caitlin Clark has officially bypassed the toxic, radioactive wasteland of the WNBA. She has arrived at Team USA training camp and, in doing so, has executed one of the most brilliant and devastating corporate maneuvers in modern sports history. Without saying a single negative word, and without engaging in a petty social media feud, Clark has demonstrated that she is the only truly irreplaceable asset in the sport. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark to survive. Caitlin Clark does not need the WNBA. If you want to understand the terrifying shift in leverage that is currently giving WNBA union executives sleepless nights, you need only look at the footage emerging from this international training camp. This is not just practice tape. It is a psychological kill shot aimed directly at the militant veterans holding the league hostage. Look at the environment. Look at the culture being cultivated on the global stage, completely free from the bitter, toxic politics of the WNBA Players Association.
They're kind of doing some drills here. Let's see them cook up for a little bit. Chelsea, no look. Caitlin, side dribble. Main thing is they're enjoying themselves, man. I love it. Okay, Angel to Stu, easy work. It seems like Caitlin is hanging with Kelsey a lot. Paige always yelling. Paige yelling about anything these days.
Listen to the sheer joy inside that gymnasium. Look at the smiles. Look at the complete absence of corporate tension. You are watching Caitlin Clark, Breanna Stewart, and the next generation of American superstars laughing, competing, and shouting, USA on 3. They are enjoying the absolute peak of their athletic careers. They are behaving like elite, highly compensated professionals who genuinely love the game of basketball. Now contrast that footage with the miserable, hostile, and combative energy surrounding the WNBA labor dispute. The veteran union leadership is running a campaign built on manufactured misery. They want the public to view them as oppressed victims of a billionaire patriarchy. They want the media cycle dominated by anger, resentment, and the constant threat of a work stoppage. They have created an environment so toxic that even their own vice presidents are reportedly leaking letters to ESPN, pleading for transparency. By stepping onto the Team USA court and radiating pure, unfiltered joy, Caitlin Clark has completely dismantled the union's public relations strategy. She is sending a massive, undeniable signal to corporate sponsors, television networks, and billionaire owners. She is demonstrating that she is the premium, drama-free investment. While WNBPA leadership appears chaotic and disorganized, fighting over scraps, Clark looks like the consummate global superstar. She is proving that the toxicity in women's basketball is not systemic. According to this viewpoint, that toxicity is being manufactured by a small, jealous faction of veteran players who fear losing their grip on the culture. The union leadership believed they could trap Caitlin Clark inside their labor war. They thought they could use her enormous popularity as a human shield to pressure ownership. Instead, Clark simply walked out the back door and stepped onto the biggest international stage in the world. He'll fully understand the catastrophic miscalculation made by the WNBA Players Association We need to conduct a forensic examination of their actual market value. In any corporate negotiation, you cannot successfully bluff a billionaire. You cannot threaten to walk away from the table when the person across from you knows you have nowhere else to go. The WNBA veterans genuinely believed they possessed independent market value. They believed consumers wanted to watch their specific legacy brand of basketball. We know this because they tested that theory. They launched the unrivaled 3-on-3 league. They created an entirely separate basketball ecosystem designed to prove they could attract television audiences and generate revenue without the presence of Caitlin Clark. The result was, according to critics, an absolute and unmitigated disaster. Television ratings for Unrivaled reportedly collapsed after its debut. The American public took one look at the product, realized number 22 was nowhere to be found, and changed the channel. Network executives at TNT, who had invested heavily in the league while hoping to capitalize on the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, were left facing serious concerns. Even worse, franchise cornerstones like Aaliyah Boston suffered significant injuries during exhibition competition, reinforcing the perception that the entire venture carried enormous physical and financial risk. The veterans played what they believed was their trump card, and the market rejected it. In the eyes of critics, they proved with their own investment that, without Caitlin Clark, they lacked the national television appeal necessary to drive meaningful revenue. Now look at the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Look at what happens when the actual golden goose steps onto the floor.
Mind you, look at the teams while y'all looking too. Look, Angel knocking them down, dog. I know it's quick. Caitlin with the game winner. Caitlin with the game winner, dog. Got the stun on him. Come on, man.
Caitlin with the game winner. Caitlin with the game winner, dog. Got the stun on them. Come on, man. Caitlin with the game winner. That is the entire business model. That is the product that justifies a $2 billion television deal. That is the magnetic generational talent that commands the attention of the global sports economy. The WNBA owners, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, Joe Tsai, and Matt Ishbia are watching this Team USA footage, and they are doing the math. When a billionaire owner watches Caitlin Clark hit a game winner in a practice drill and instantly go viral, they do not see just a basketball player. They see market capitalization. They see leverage. They see an asset capable of driving unprecedented attention and revenue. If the WNBA Players Association follows through on its threat to strike on March 10th, the owners are not going to panic. They are not going to immediately cave to the union's demands, because they understand one fundamental reality. The most valuable asset in the sport is Caitlin Clark. And right now, Caitlin Clark appears completely insulated from the WNBA's internal turmoil. If the 2026 WNBA season is delayed or canceled, veteran players could face severe financial consequences. They could lose paychecks, lose visibility, and watch their relevance diminish. Caitlin Clark, meanwhile, would remain one of the most marketable athletes in the world. If the WNBA shuts down, Clark can simply redirect her massive and fiercely loyal audience elsewhere. She can transition that attention toward Team USA competition and international basketball events. And who is broadcasting those events? TNT Sports. The WNBA union is attempting to play high-stakes poker without chips. They are trying to pressure billionaires while simultaneously being exposed as a product that struggles to generate the same level of attention without its biggest star. It is a level of corporate miscalculation that borders on self-destruction. This brings us to the explosive reality of why this strike discussion is happening at all. A reality many commentators believe the mainstream sports media refuses to address honestly. According to this viewpoint, the militant veterans driving the WNBPA are not pushing toward a lockout to create a better economic future for working-class athletes. Many players, agents, and free agents are eager for a deal to be completed. A large percentage of the league remains unsigned and is waiting for stability. Critics argue that the veteran establishment is embracing the threat of a strike because it represents the final weapon available to slow Caitlin Clark's momentum. Consider the psychology of the old guard. For decades, they ruled a small, culturally insulated, and financially limited kingdom. They controlled the locker room hierarchy. They demanded respect from rookies. They shaped media narratives. Then Caitlin Clark arrived from Iowa. She shattered viewership records. She brought millions of new fans into the sport. Fans who cared little about the unwritten rules of the previous era. She secured major endorsement deals from Nike and Gatorade. Almost overnight, she transformed the cultural and economic landscape of women's basketball. Many believe the veteran leadership deeply resents that transformation. They resent her popularity. They resent the speed of her rise. They resent spending decades building the foundation, only to watch a 22-year-old walk in and become the face of the entire industry. Most of all, they fear what comes next. They fear a fully healthy, fully rested Caitlin Clark returning for her second season completely adapted to the professional game and ready to dominate on her own terms. If a strike occurs, it steals a year from Clark's athletic prime. It temporarily silences the noise. It punishes the new fans who arrived because of her influence. According to critics, some are willing to risk financial disaster, jeopardize a multi-billion-dollar media future, and damage the livelihoods of their own union members simply to prove they still control the levers of power. T is weaponized envy, T is scorched earth economics. But Caitlin Clark just delivered the ultimate counterstrike. She checkmated them with humility.
Who's special for you? Man, I think, this is every kid's dream. I think I wrote it down when I was in like 3rd grade. So just excited about this opportunity. And I remember Kara Callan talking to us like when me and Paige, and I know AB isn't here, but even I played with Ryan on the U19 team. Like on the junior national teams, there's only going to be like a couple of you that end up making it to make a senior debut. So whether that's the World Cup, whether the World Cup qualifier, whether that's, the Olympics, every single part of it and part of the journey is really special. So I know we're a ways away even from the World Cup and obviously a ways away from the Olympics, but this is still really exciting in itself and kind of the first.
Listen to the profound, untouchable brilliance of that public statement. She calls it every kid's dream. She expresses deep reverence for the opportunity. She acknowledges the journey, positions herself as a humble student of the game, and projects absolute, unshakable professionalism on the biggest stage in the world. By taking this exact public stance, Clark is actively dismantling the final desperate narrative of the WNBA veterans. The militant old guard desperately wants to paint Clark as entitled. They want to portray her fans as toxic. They want to position themselves as the noble defenders of the sport's history. But Clark refuses to play the villain. She refuses to engage in the mudslinging. Instead, she steps in front of the international media and behaves like a consummate, respectful professional. In doing so, she makes the WNBA union appear exactly as her critics describe it, a chaotic, disorganized, and petty group fighting over scraps, leaking passive-aggressive letters, and actively sabotaging its own sport. By making her highly anticipated return on the international stage with Team USA, Clark has effectively bypassed the WNBA's jurisdiction. The FIBA qualifiers are a massive global television event. Clark is about to play meaningful, high-stakes basketball on international television, surrounded by some of the greatest players in the world and completely removed from the toxic politics, flagrant fouls, and deeply rooted jealousy that critics associate with the WNBA Players Association. Meanwhile, the WNBA is locked in a room with a thermal detonator, and the veteran leadership is threatening to press the button on March 10. They believe that if they threaten to blow up the building, the billionaires will surrender their wealth. But Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, and the billionaire ownership groups are not focused on the veterans. They are focused on Caitlin Clark, who is standing safely outside the blast radius, preparing to dominate the world stage, expand her global brand, and generate hundreds of millions of dollars for the networks smart enough to follow her. If the WNBPA forces a lockout, they will not emerge as victorious labor heroes fighting a righteous crusade against corporate greed. They will emerge as the architects of their own spectacular destruction. They will alienate the new fan base. They will destroy the league's hard-earned momentum. And they will force the billionaire owners to restructure the financial reality of the sport in ways that could permanently strip players of their leverage. When the strike ends, the smoke clears, and the WNBA is forced to crawl back to the negotiating table, Caitlin Clark will still be the biggest draw in the sport. And the bitter veterans who tried to silence her will be standing in the unemployment line, realizing they just committed one of the most humiliating acts of financial suicide in professional sports history. The media smokescreen has officially evaporated. The manufactured illusion of veteran sisterhood has been completely shattered. The reality of the sports business is cold, calculated, and absolute. Either you move the financial needle, generate revenue, and create value, or you are systematically consumed by the corporate machine. I want to hear from you. Drop into the comments right now. Is the WNBA union intentionally trying to force a lockout because it is consumed by jealousy over Caitlin Clark's dominance? Will the veteran players actually follow through on their threat and risk financial disaster? Or will the billionaire owners crush them at the negotiating deadline? And just how massive will the global television ratings be for Clark's official debut with Team USA while the WNBA fights its internal battles? Let me know your thoughts below. If you want unapologetic, aggressive commentary on the cutthroat business of sports, the high-stakes leverage games played in corporate boardrooms, and the stories the mainstream sports media is afraid to cover, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video everywhere. We do not do sanitized public relations narratives here. We expose the raw reality hiding in the shadows. Stay sharp. I will see you in the next one.